Patronus charm. It's very advanced magic, well beyond the ordinary wizarding level. Patronus is a kind of positive force, and for the wizard who can conjure one, it works something like a shield with a Dementor feeding on it rather than him. But in order for it to work, you need to think of a memory. Not just any memory, a very happy memory, a very powerful memory.
I can buy myself chickens.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, like the intro suggests, we are going to be making a Patronus from the Harry Potter series. It'll be quite the challenge though, considering I need to make an entire art doll light up. So let's get started. Also, if you happen to like my chaos self and you like the end of this video, maybe drop a subscribe or something, or comment how dangerous this was and it was very stupid to do. Okay.
First step for this Patronus is making the head and feet. I'll be 3D sculpting this time around. I could have sculpted it with clay, but I need this head to be a consistent thickness throughout in hopes that it'll all light up evenly, and there's just no way I won't mess that up. So we need that sweet computer brain to do the math for me. Technically, I could also have done a resin cast since I already have a mold, but I wanted a more realistic and less stylized look for this piece. Since that's not the norm for me, I usually do go semi-realistic, I had to revise this guy a lot and really rein myself in, specifically in the eyes, because I just love big expressive eyes, and that's not really realistic. Well, in most cases. But with a lot of tinkering, I think we're making good progress on the shape. I'm trying to stay on that realistic train as much as possible to better match the vibes of the movie. I mean, technically the movie version is a wispy, transparent ghostly boy.
I prefer Sir Nicholas, if you don't mind.
That's impossible to replicate in solid form, but hush, we out here trying. Don't ask me what's going on here.
That's a boggart, that is.
I don't claim to be competent with ZBrush yet, so we'll just hide it and pretend it didn't happen. With the head base all figured out, it's time to strategically scribble all over it to give it a nice fur texture. Last thing was to add his antlers, which I just snagged from Thingiverse. Once all done, I drag it into the 3D printing software Doodad, click some buttons here and there, and with some luck, it's time to bring this guy to the physical world.
Expelliarmus!
Lumos Maxima.
And here he is all printed. He came out perfect, first try too. Totally didn't need to print it multiple times and nearly rage quit about it.
You liar!
But now we just need to sand away any blemishes. Once sanded, it's time for a short and sweet ASMR armature time. To finish off the armature, we're pulling out good old wire. With how thin deer legs are, I don't think my bulky armature pieces will work out very well. Using wire is great for beginners and very cost effective, but is so unwieldy to work with. I just flail it around everywhere. Once the wire is attached to the spine, I roughly bend them into shape. I like using skeletal and anatomical photos to check if the wires match up correctly. If they do, I move on to attaching the head and feet, filling the cavity I made in the sculpting phase with hot glue, then inserting the armature pieces or wire into them. Once done, it's time to fluff up the body using tried and true quilt batting. This magical fluff comes in giant rolls that I meticulously cut into strips and wrap around the body over and over and over
and over and over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
until the body is built up to how I want, making sure not to go too overboard since I need to account for the thick knots of the fur fabric and LEDs later on. But like I always say, if you want chunk, chunk, chunk boy, you go and you get chunk, chunk, chunk boy. If you want thin, thin, thin boy, you go and you get thin, thin, thin boy. Okay, we support all butt shapes and sizes here. Normally, the next step is sewing, but I need the LEDs on beforehand. And before I can do that, I need to dabble before I dive. So let's do some tests. Meet Frank. He came out almost perfect, if his whole left side wasn't mangled, but he'll be perfect for testing purposes. Test number 1. Dremel channels into the ears and antlers to embed LEDs since they were too fragile to print hollow. Though, don't ask me how this is more structurally sound. Test number 2. Painting the head with a brush isn't an option since the lights will reveal every itty bitty brush stroke, so try an airbrush to get a thin, even coat all over. Test number 3. Figure out if you can even solder and wire things together. It would be a shame to be this far into the project and realize you can't.
Obviously. I will find out. Okay, let's see if I can do the thing.
I don't think that's how you're supposed to do it.
And shut up. Are you doing it? I don't know. I'm over here doing things I don't know nothing about.
You're doing it! I believe in you!
I think I did it. We're gonna see if this works.
Okay.
I present to you my first little LED solder. He is long, too long, but it was just a test.
Larry, the little light!
Oh my god.
Here's a shot of me jankingly showing you that the test worked, so it's time for the main boy. Since I tested everything, airbrushing should be a breeze. It had no issues before, so it should give me a nice, smooth, and even...
Oh, come on.
I literally said an even coat. Come on. Regardless of that mishap, we have a nice, even coat. Can't forget the feet, but in hindsight, I wonder if they would have glowed better if I left them clear. Once the paint dried, it was time to Dremel. I should have switched the orders of these two. The Dremel slipped at times, chipping the paint. Clearly, I just learned nothing. With all that out of the way, it's time for the lights. Wait, where are my lights? Oh, hey Sal. Listen, buddy, I'm gonna need those back. Yes, those. So, I'm just gonna... Thank you. Here, I'll give you this as a trade. Okay, now that I have my lights back, it's finally time to add them on the body. I started from back to front to make sure the plug would go out his booty. I just wrapped the LEDs close together to have the most even lighting. This is most certainly a fire hazard.
How do LEDs get you are not headphones. What even is this? Get a hold of yourself.
For the legs, I used a single line down the fronts with a bead of glue to temporarily keep it in place. Let's just finish adding the rest, shall we? There we go. With the LEDs all in place, it's time to wire them together.
Ooh, look at them little solders. Who is she? She's a professional.
Here's most of the LEDs wired. I do wish I could add more on the legs, especially in the back, but adding too many would restrict its posing, or I'd risk snapping a wire under the strain of it all. For the head, you may wonder how I managed to light something so small.
Undetectable extension
I
charm.
just shoved a bunch of LEDs into the back, but you know. Here, you can really see the difference dremeling those channels did. Just one ear looks bright and the other one's just really dull and dark. To actually light up the ears and antlers, I cut small pieces of the LED strip, superglued them in place, and wired them together to the main body. Here is his head in all its glowing glory. It does look so good. And here's where I was questioning my life choices and wondering if I was gonna burn the house down. That still remains to be seen. It's fine. Next up is sewing, the absolutely essential but most boring step for me. Sewing to me is the equivalent of a muggle, such as myself, attempting to ace a defense against the dark arts class. Try one. Thankfully for me, Faux fur is very forgiving and graciously hides all my subpar stitching underneath its wonderful fluff. In all honesty, I know just enough to make art dolls well, but explaining it coherently to someone is, for whatever reason, impossible for me. So, I pretty much just ramble away until this section's over. Here he is, floof and all. His body's looking good so far, we just need to trim down that winter coat. It's goofy that he has a robo plug for a tail. To tame the fuzz, we're going in with a pet shaver, a wonderful little device made for animals both real and fake. It hacks the fur away more smoothly and evenly than I ever could. It's just a great tool to have just to get the bulk fur off quickly. I still like to go back in with scissors and trim up the spots that need a little bit more attention, usually the legs since they're too small for the shaver to really get. Plus, I enjoy making all the joints more prominent. It just reveals the art doll to me and I enjoy it. I have to say, I'm really proud at his body and how it came out. It just screams deer and just, I love it. Like I mentioned earlier, I do wish his legs lit up more so there wasn't so many dark spots, but I have to be realistic with myself. It's not like I've done this before, and the fact that he lights up at all is a win.
A win is a win.
Last thing I gotta do is cover up those LEDs behind the head. They're a bit unsightly. Now, my first idea was to use Instamorph, these little plastic pellets that become moldable in hot water, but the head was not having it. Clearly my camera wasn't either, so off camera I used some translucent clay and hit it with a heat gun. Just more fire hazard danger for me. It won't hide the strips when it's on, but it will when it's off with a bit more airbrushing to the clay. So let's do that. Oh, come on, Pickett. We've talked about this. No hanging on the airbrush. Come here. My little dude, I really don't think you want to be covered in paint. I don't care if Jim down the street said it was fun. Let's put you back. Jeez, okay. I tried to be careful to only hit the antlers and ears as best I could, but if it off-sprays a little, I'm sure it'll be fine. That's what I'm hoping anyway. Clearly it was, because as you can see here, the Patronus is complete. But before we look at the montage, there's a couple props I want that Editor Sarah's gonna help with. I'll just let you enjoy that chaos.
What? Where are my bones? Peeves, don't make me get the Bloody Baron.
The skulls are a little...
Put him up, put him up. I don't want no trouble now. I said put him up. You wouldn't be trying to cause trouble around these parts, would you? No, no, sir. No trouble here.
Come on, just cut. Oh!
If you do it one-handed, I hate you.
This flippy boy is Bob Skellington. This long-armed gentleman is Skell Bobbington. And this nubby armed friend, well, his name is Jeff.
Alright, did I go a little bit too ham for the wire and the glue? Probably. So we have 3 Dementor bodies. We have cheesecloth over here. We got the bucket, Mod Podge, Stiffy, and black paint. Stuff's falling. It's fine. And we're gonna stir. We're gonna stir with the paintbrush. This is one of Karen's new paintbrush, so we're not gonna tell her we're using it. But I edit the video, so she's not even gonna know. I should have gloves on, but I don't. And you just dippy dippy dip. This is such a mistake. I'm gonna have to cut it different.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
He's already a spooky boy.
I gotta go.
Do we see that spooky boy? This is what mistakes in life look like. I'm going to drape you like so. I had my hand covering it up.
With the lovely Dementors done, now we can look at the final montage.
It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices.